The sky was crying the day I lost everything. I still remember the rain. It wasn't gentle, it hammered against the hospital windows like it knew what was coming. I was 17. Drenched in my school uniform, mud on my shoes, fingers frozen from the cold. I stood in that too-white corridor, unable to breathe. She didn't make it, the doctor said. He had this heavy voice, like he'd said those words 100 times before. But they still hit like a knife to the chest. I'm sorry, he added, softer this time. I nodded. I couldn't cry. Couldn't scream. I just stood there numb, holding the silver locket my mom gave me the day I turned 13. It was the only thing that survived the crash. My name is Claire Bennett, and that day my whole world fell apart. My mother, Elizabeth Bennett, was everything to me. My father died when I was 8, and after that it was just us. She worked 2 jobs, skipped meals so I could eat, spent her nights helping me study because I wanted to become a lawyer one day. We didn't have much, but we had each other. And that was always enough. Until that night. They said it was a drunk driver. A random twist of fate. Instant. She didn't feel a thing, doctor had said, as if that made any of it easier. It didn't. They sent me to a group home. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't home either. The beds were cold. The staff polite but distant. I didn't speak for days. I just clutched my locket and stared at the ceiling, trying to remember the sound of my mother's voice. One of the staff members, Miss Carter, tried to reach me. You're stronger than you know, Claire, she said one night sitting beside my bed. You've survived the worst. Now you have to live. But I didn't feel strong. I felt shattered. Until one day, I saw myself in the bathroom mirror, and I didn't recognize the girl staring back. Hollow eyes. Pale skin. No fire left. That scared me more than anything else. That night, I made a promise. You won't fall apart, Claire. Not for long. You're going to make it. You're going to become everything she believed you could be. So I got up. I studied under flickering hallway lights while everyone else slept. I worked weekends and evenings. I won scholarships. I got into law school. And that's when I met him. Ethan Cole. Tall, charming, brilliant. He owned a small tech startup back then, nothing flashy, just ideas and ambition. But when he smiled at me, it felt like the world stopped spinning. I see something in you, Claire, he said one night, fingers gently brushing mine across a cafe table. You don't even know how extraordinary you are. I believed him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. That moment felt like the start of a new chapter of love, of hope, of healing. But I didn't know then. It was also the beginning of my undoing. If I could go back to that first moment, I would tell myself to run. But at the time, Ethan Cole wasn't danger. He was everything I had ever dreamed of. It was my second year in law school. I was buried under books, barely sleeping, living off caffeine and leftover instant noodles. I didn't have time for anyone, not friends, not parties, definitely not love. And yet, love found me. Or at least, what I got was love. I met him in the campus library. I had accidentally knocked over a stack of books while reaching for a copy of Tort Law and Civil Responsibility. He bent down to help me, offered a crooked grin, and said, You know, most people drop coffee cups. You drop case books. I looked up, flustered, and laughed. Guess I like to make an entrance. Or a mess, he smirked. Ethan. Ethan Cole. Claire, I replied. Claire Bennett. That was it. Just a few words. A shared laugh. And suddenly he was everywhere. Waiting by the elevator. Showing up at the coffee shop I went to every Friday, always with that charming, slightly arrogant smile of his. Confident. Magnetic. We started talking. Then texting. Then late night walks around campus, where we talk about life, dreams, fears. He told me about his startup, Cole Innovations. It's small, he'd say, but I'm building something real. Something that'll change the game. He was ambitious. Smart. Funny. He had that spark people gravitate toward, and for some reason, he chose me. The orphan girl with trauma tucked behind her polite smile. You're different, Claire, he said one night, as we sat under the stars on the law building steps. You don't want anything from me. That's rare. I shook my head. I'm not interested in what people have. I care about who they are. And just like that, he kissed me. Soft, slow, deliberate. I remember how fast my heart raced. I remember thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I finally get to have something good. Our relationship moved quickly after that. He was thoughtful, affectionate, always knowing exactly what to say. He made me feel safe. Wanted. Loved. And then he introduced me to her. Madeline Shaw. She was stunning. Blonde hair that fell in perfect waves, laughter that lit up a room. She was confident, kind, or at least she seemed to be, and apparently, she was Ian's best friend since childhood. "Claire, this is Mads," he said one evening as we met for dinner at a rooftop restaurant. "She's basically family." Madeline hugged me like she already knew me. "I've heard so much about you," she said, flashing a perfect smile. "Ethan never shuts up." She was charming. Sweet. Warm. Too perfect. I ignored the uneasy feeling in my gut. I wanted to trust them. I wanted to believe in this perfect little world Ethan had built around me. And for a while, I did. But now, looking back, I know that dinner was the beginning of the end. The beginning of the lie. Because behind her smile, Madeline was hiding a knife. And Ethan. He already knew where to twist it. They say when something is too good to be true, it usually is. But love. Love makes you blind. It silences your instincts. It convinces you that your gut feeling is just anxiety, that your fear is just trauma playing tricks again. And I wanted to believe so badly. Ethan had become my everything. My home. My peace. We moved in together 6 months after that rooftop dinner. A sleek apartment in the heart of the city, the kind with floor-to-ceiling windows, and the kind of silence that felt like luxury. It was a dream. One I never thought someone like me would have. "Do you like it?" Ethan asked as he spun me around the empty living room, his hands resting on my waist. I laughed. "It's too much." He leaned in, kissed my forehead. "You deserve more." Those words. God, I clung to them like oxygen. Madeline, of course, was always around. "Third wheel," she'd joke as she dropped by with wine and sushi. She was always polished. Always smiling. But sometimes, I'd catch her watching Ethan when she got I wasn't looking. Not longing exactly, just something deeper. Something unsettling. One night, while Ethan was out of town for a meeting, Madeline came over. "Movie night," she said, holding popcorn and wine like nothing was off. We sat on the couch, and for a moment it was normal. Until it wasn't. She turned to me during the second act of the movie, eyes glassy from the wine. "You love him, don't you?" she asked. I blinked, startled. "Of course." She smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. "You'd do anything for him?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I would." She turned back to the screen, said nothing else. But her silence was louder than any scream. That was the first whisper. Then came the little things. Ethan locking his phone suddenly. Calls he'd take in the hallway. Late nights at the office that turned into early mornings. "I'm just under pressure," he told me once, brushing my hair behind my ear. "The company's expanding. Investors are breathing down my neck." I believed him. I needed to believe him. But the whispers grew louder. There was the lipstick stain I found on his shirt collar. Barely noticeable. Not my shade. He laughed it off. Madeline hugged me too tight at the party. There was the perfume on his jacket. Not mine. Not even clothes. "Elevator, maybe," he shrugged. "You know how scents cling." And there was the message I wasn't supposed to see. A notification that flashed across his phone while he was in the shower. "Can't stop thinking about last night. M." My fingers trembled as I stared at it. My heart pounded like a war drum. I told myself it had to be someone else. A misunderstanding. A joke. But deep down, I knew. The cracks weren't whispers anymore. They were screams. Betrayal doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't knock politely on your door. It kicks it down and leaves your soul bleeding on the floor. We had been married for 3 years. 3 long, beautiful, picture-perfect years, or so I believed. To the outside world, we were the golden couple. Powerful. Elegant. Untouchable. Ethan had his company, his empire. I stood beside him at every event, his beautiful and brilliant wife. They'd call me in interviews. We were in magazines. We were envied. People said we were made for each other. And I believed it. Every smile he gave me in public, every hand he placed on my lower back as cameras clicked, I got it was real. Behind closed doors, I got we had something special. He'd kiss my forehead in the morning. Bring me coffee in bed. Leave little notes on the fridge when he left early for work. I thought he loved me. Truly. Deeply. Madly. But all of it. Every goddamn moment. Was a performance. I just didn't know I was the only one who didn't have a script. I still remember the day it all began to unravel. It was a Thursday, gray clouds blanketed the sky, and the air felt too still, like the universe knew what was about to happen. Ethan had forgotten our anniversary. 3 years of marriage. And he forgot. No call. No message. Not even a passing mention. I'd planned a dinner. I'd cooked his favorite pan-seared salmon with lemon butter and roasted asparagus. Set the table. Lit candles. Wore the dress he once said made me look like poetry. But he never came home. The clock struck midnight. The food had gone cold. And I just sat there in silence, staring at the empty chair across from me. At 1:47 a.m., his key turned in the lock. Claire. He called out casually, as if he hadn't just shattered me into pieces. You're still up. I stood from the table. My voice was calm. Too calm. You forgot, I said. He blinked, confused. Forgot what? I didn't respond. I just stared. And that was when he saw the candles. The untouched plates. The wine glasses. Realization dawned. SHT, he whispered, rubbing the back of his neck. Claire, I'm so sorry. Work's been insane. Save it. He moved closer. Babe, listen. No, I snapped. You don't get to babe me. Not tonight. His expression changed. From guilt to irritation. You're overreacting. Overreacting. That was the word that broke me. I walked past him and into the bedroom. Opened the drawer where I kept the locket my mother gave me before she died. The only thing I had left of my family. Inside it was the ring. The engagement ring Ethan gave me 3 years ago. I stared at it. Cold. Heavy. Meaningless now. My fingers trembled as I picked it up and then, with one swift motion, I threw the locket across the room. It hit the wall with a dull clang and fell to the floor, shattered. Just like me. Ethan didn't follow. He stood there, arms crossed, jaw clenched. I didn't cry that night. No. I didn't have any tears left. But the next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. He said he had a meeting. Said he was driving to a pitch downtown. He didn't go downtown. He drove to a hotel. I watched from the car, parked across the street. Watched him walk in like he owned the place. 10 minutes later. She arrived. Madeline. She wore sunglasses, but I'd know her walk anywhere. Confident. Entitled. Like the world owed her something. She didn't even hesitate before walking inside. My hands clenched the steering wheel. My nails dug into my palm. That was the moment. The final nail. I drove home in silence. Sat on the bathroom floor. And I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because it was so damn tragic. I gave up everything for Ethan. My career. My dreams. My future. I traded it all in for a lie wrapped in a charming smile. And he didn't even flinch while destroying me. But that night, as I looked in the mirror at the hollow woman staring back, something inside me shifted. A flicker of something dangerous. Not rage. Not grief. People say marriage is sacred. That it's a promise made in front of witnesses, in front of God. A vow to love, to cherish, to remain faithful. Ethan broke that vow the moment he touched her. No. Maybe even before that, when he started lying to me without even blinking. After that night, after I saw them enter the hotel together, I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed more. I needed proof. I needed to know everything. So, I did what I had to do. I became someone else. It started with a voice recorder, hidden neatly beneath the drawer in his home office. I'd bought it that afternoon. The kind used by journalists. Tiny. Discreet. No blinking light. I placed it behind his stack of old client files. He never touched those. I made sure of that. Then I waited. Every day, I played the role of the doting wife again. I smiled. I kissed him. I even laughed at his terrible jokes. And every night after he left the room, I checked the recordings. At first, there was nothing. But on the 5th night, I heard it. A voice, hers. You should tell her, Ethan. She deserves to know. No, Maddie. Not now. It's not the right time. It's never the right time for you. Are you going to keep lying forever? His voice was cold. Controlled. If this gets out, everything I've built falls apart. The investors, the board, the press, Claire could ruin me. You said you had a plan. I do. Just trust me. A plan. A plan to do what? My blood ran cold. I couldn't breathe. I sat there frozen, replaying those words again and again. She could ruin me. She could ruin me. She could ruin me. Did he think I was stupid? That I didn't know how companies like his worked? I'd helped him build some of it. Not directly, but my connections, my presence, my public support had gotten him deals he never would have sealed alone. But I never asked for credit. I was proud. Back then, I was so damn proud. Now I saw it clearly. I wasn't his partner. I was his pawn. 2 weeks passed. I kept pretending. And every night, I pieced together the truth like a puzzle from hell. I found emails, deleted texts, transferred files from his computer to a flash drive I kept taped under the sink. He'd forged documents, lied to his board, funneled money from overseas accounts. It wasn't just betrayal. It was crime. And he thought I'd never find out. One night, I was in the study, looking through his files when I heard the door open behind me. Claire. I froze. Ethan stood there, brow raised, a half smile on his face. "What are you doing in here?" he asked. I forced a smile, keeping my body between him and the drawer. I was just looking for the property tax files. "Remember the issue with the beach house?" I lied smoothly. He narrowed his eyes for a second, just a second, before nodding. "Right. Forgot about that." He walked toward me. My pulse quickened, but I didn't move. He brushed my hair behind my ear, leaned in, and kissed my temple. "You've been so tense lately," he whispered. "Have I? I guess it's hard to be relaxed when your husband is plotting behind your back." "I'm fine," I said softly. But I wasn't. And I wouldn't be. Not until I had everything. That night, I stared at our wedding photo. Me in white. Him in black. Her, Madeline, smiling in the background as my maid of honor. The irony burned. I pulled the frame off the wall, took the photo out, and ripped it straight through the middle. I kept my half. Let his fall to the floor. Let him crumble. I wasn't sure what came next. Not yet. But I knew one thing. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. It was about justice. It was about taking back the years they stole from me. I don't know exactly when it happened. When the pain shifted into purpose. One day, I woke up and it didn't hurt as much. It still stung. Still made my chest feel like it was filled with broken glass, but it didn't paralyze me. That's when I knew I was ready. Ready to destroy them. Not with rage. With precision. I started digging deeper. Ethan thought he was smart, but he'd gotten lazy. Arrogant. He thought no one would question him, least of all me. I accessed his backup files. Found offshore transactions under fake names. Maddie's name popped up too, linked to a dummy consulting firm that had been quietly draining money from one of Ethan's subsidiaries. They weren't just lovers. They were partners in crime. And yet, they still smiled in my face. They still touched me with those hands that had been soiled by betrayal. The flames inside me grew hotter. I contacted a friend, Maya, a reporter from college who owed me a favor. She didn't ask many questions, just told me to send the evidence when I was ready. "Make sure you're safe, Claire," she said over the phone. "People like Ethan, they don't lose gracefully." I knew she was right. That's why I made a backup of everything. And then another. I left one at the law office I used for my old work contracts. One with Maya. One inside my sister's old jewelry box, still locked and hidden in my apartment. I wasn't just planning to expose them. I was preparing for war. I remember the night so clearly. It was a Friday. I made lasagna, his favorite. Lit candles. Played soft jazz in the background. Dressed in the black silk slip he always liked. He came home late as usual. "Smells good," he said, loosening his tie. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion," I replied sweetly. "Just wanted to have a nice evening together." We sat across from each other like nothing was wrong. He laughed at something stupid I said. I laughed too. But the fire inside me was roaring. As he sipped his wine, I asked, "Do you think people always get what they deserve in the end?" He paused, blinking at me. "Why do you ask?" I smiled. "Just thinking. Karma and all that." He chuckled. "Well, if they do, I hope I've done enough good to earn an easy afterlife." I wanted to throw the wine in his face. But I didn't. Because I had to be patient. I had to be smart. "You've worked hard," I said instead. "I'm proud of you." He reached for my hand across the table. "I couldn't have done it without you." Liar. That night, as he slept, I stood over him. I held the flash drive in my hand. All the evidence. All the secrets. I got about ending it all, releasing everything, ruining his empire, wiping his name off the business world for good. But something held me back. Not fear. No, not anymore. I wanted him to see it. I wanted him to watch it all fall apart with his own eyes. Just like I had. That was the only way this would ever feel like justice. I leaned in close and whispered, "I know what you did." Then I slipped the flash drive into my robe pocket, walked to my study, and made the final preparations. He had no idea that everything he built, everything he stole, was about to collapse. And I would be the one to light the match. I didn't drop the bomb all at once. No, that would have been too kind. I released it in pieces. The first was a financial leak, just a whisper sent anonymously to a business columnist I knew would bite. I gave them the trail, the fake consultancy link to Maddie. It looked small, inconspicuous. But in the right hands, it would bloom into a storm. And it did. By the end of the week, the article hit. Whispers of corruption, our shadow accounts funding Dallinger Tech's expansion. Ethan panicked. I watched him pace in his study, yelling over the phone. It's nothing. Just a smear piece, he told someone, probably his PR team. Handle it before it spreads. But the whispers had already begun. Investors were calling. Board members were questioning. He didn't know it yet, but I had more. I still had his texts with government officials. His under-the-table deals. His financial cover-ups. All timed already. This was just the first spark. And I would keep lighting the trail until the fire reached him. It didn't take long for Maddie to notice. She showed up at the house unannounced one afternoon while Ethan was out. I answered the door with the sweetest smile I could muster. "Madeline," I said, voice honeyed. What a surprise. Her eyes scanned me like she was trying to read my soul. "Is Ethan home?" "No, but I'm sure you already knew that." She blinked. "Excuse me." I leaned against the doorframe. Calm. Smiling. "I just assumed you'd check his schedule first. You know, like you used to when you stayed the night at his hotel suite." Her face paled. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "I know, Maddie," I said softly, almost a whisper. "I've known for a while." She tried to recover to stand taller. "Claire, I think you're..." "I'm not accusing you," I cut in. "I'm simply informing you. You see, I've been documenting things. Listening. Watching. Recording." A flicker of fear crossed her features. "You're bluffing." I chuckled. "You sure about that?" She stepped back, almost stumbling. "You have no idea what you're getting into," she hissed. I stepped forward, lowering my voice to a dangerous calm. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm getting into. I loved him, Maddie. I gave up everything for him. And both of you spat on that love like it meant nothing." A silence passed between us, thick and heavy. "I don't want a war," she finally said. I tilted my head. "You should have thought of that before sleeping with your best friend's husband." Then I closed the door in her face. She didn't knock again. But I knew that wouldn't be the end of it. If Maddie was shaken, Ethan wouldn't be far behind. And so I waited. Here are chapters 10 and 11, Claire strikes again and the consequences begin to unfold in full force. The second leak wasn't as subtle. I sent it directly to Maya this time, a string of files connecting Ethan to embezzlement. Company funds rerouted through shell corporations. Illegal dealings masked as consulting fees. All signed and time-stamped. She called me the same evening. "Claire, are you sure you want this published?" "Yes. You know this could destroy his entire company." "I'm counting on it." She hesitated, then said, "It goes out tomorrow morning." And it did. Front page of the financial section. CEO Ethan Dallinger linked to millions in embezzled funds, sources say internal audit was silenced. Social media exploded. Investors backed out. Shares plummeted by the hour. By noon, his face was everywhere. By evening there were calls for his resignation. I sat on the couch, watching the chaos unfold on TV. He stormed into the house like a hurricane. "Did you see what they're saying about me?" he barked. I kept my face neutral. "Of course. Do you think someone's framing me?" "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe the truth finally caught up with you." He froze. "Claire." His voice dropped. "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" I stood up, walking slowly toward him. "Wouldn't expose the man who threw away our life together for sex and power." He opened his mouth. "Don't bother lying," I snapped. "You and Maddie deserve every second of this." "Claire, I never meant." "Don't you meant every word, every lie, every moment of betrayal. Now you get to face what's left." His hands trembled slightly. For the first time, I saw fear. Not because of me. Because his empire, his carefully built, immaculately polished image was crumbling. And I was just getting started. The board called an emergency meeting the next day. Ethan came back looking pale and shaken. "They want me to step down," he muttered. I didn't even blink. "Then do it. I built that company." "No, we did. You just made sure I disappeared from the story once you got what you wanted." His phone rang. He ignored it. Again. That's when I knew everything was unraveling. Maddie, of course, tried to call too. I heard him whispering to her behind closed doors. They're targeting both of us. I don't know how much she knows. I knew everything. I visited Maya later that week. Brought her the final set of files, proof of backdoor lobbying, corporate espionage, threats made to silence whistleblowers. She stared at the screen horrified. Claire. This will bury him. I want it to. And you. I was already buried. This is me clawing out. She nodded and gave me a long look. You're not the same woman I met in college. No, I said. That woman died the day she was betrayed. This one was born for justice. By the time the third article went public, Eden's resignation was demanded publicly. Protesters gathered outside his headquarters. Sponsors pulled out. His downfall wasn't quiet, it was loud, scandalous, humiliating. And I watched it all unfold. With peace. Because justice wasn't quiet. It roared. Maddie Hart. Who became my best friend. My bridesmaid. The one who once held my hand through every heartbreak. And then became the one who shattered me. After the articles on Eden went public, she stayed quiet. Too quiet. But I knew her well, too well. Silence was never her weapon of choice. She always struck when no one was looking. And I was. Looking. So I planted a seed. A discreet, anonymous tip to a small gossip site, nothing too damaging. Just a headline. Golden Girl Maddie Hart, more than just a PR genius. A little clickbait. Enough to make her panic. And sure enough, she did. She held a press conference the very next day. Hair perfect. Eyes misty. Voice trembling in all the right ways. I've always stood for truth and transparency, she said. And it breaks my heart to be dragged into something so dark. I only ever tried to help Eden when his life was falling apart. Help him. I nearly laughed. She was helping herself, to everything that was mine. And now, she was trying to play the innocent. But behind that pristine white dress and teary smile was the same woman who'd whispered poison in my ear for years. You deserve better, Claire, she'd once told me, brushing my hair as I cried over Aiden's late nights. While sleeping with him behind my back. Now she was cleaning up his image, covering his tracks, doing damage control for both of them. Maya called later that night. She's trying to reach out, she said. Through back channels. Wants us to ease off the coverage. Of course she does. What do you want me to say to her? I smiled, though Maya couldn't see it. Tell her she looks lovely on camera. Claire. I leaned back, letting the satisfaction bloom inside me. She wants to play PR queen. Let her. I'll show her what happens when the mask finally slips. She was untouchable. She had no idea. The truth I had was still sleeping in my vault. Documents. Voice notes. Emails. Things I never used before because I wasn't ready. But I'm ready now. Because revenge doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves. And hers is just beginning. The thing about Maddie. She built her life like a stage. Perfect lighting. Polished set. Scripted smiles. But it was all hollow inside. I knew where to push, and I knew just how hard. It began with a package. An envelope delivered straight to one of her biggest clients. Inside. Copies of falsified PR reports. Numbers inflated, campaigns faked, client endorsements manufactured. Her client, an international beauty brand, dropped her within 24 hours and released a statement. We hold integrity to the highest standard. We were misled. We are severing all ties with Ms. Maddie Hart. Strike one. Then came the whispers. Influencers, journalists, and clients she'd worked with all started comparing notes because I helped them. A nudge here, a leak there. Emails. Screenshots. Secret recordings from team meetings where she insulted the very brand she was hired to protect. Her image cracked faster than she could fix it. And I watched. Watched her flail. Watched her cry on her Instagram stories saying she was being targeted by jealous haters. Haters. No, Maddie. This was personal. Aiden tried to intervene again. Claire, she suffered enough, he said over the phone. Really? I asked, feigning sympathy. And what exactly is enough for a woman who helped destroy my life? She didn't mean to. Oh, she meant it. Every word. Every touch. Every lie. He sighed, frustrated. You're not like this. He didn't know me at all. But what neither of them realized. I hadn't even played my final card yet. Because while Maddie was busy saving her name, I was watching. Thinking about that night. The night my life ended. The last dinner we all shared. The wine. The nausea. The way I blacked out before I could reach the phone. The police had ruled it a medical incident. But I knew better. I was reborn to show them hell. And I will. They had lost everything. Maddie had become a social pariah. Her once glamorous life filled with admiration and influence, now reduced to angry whispers and open disgust. No more parties. No more followers. Her name was poison. Aiden, the once glorious CEO, now sat at the helm of a sinking ship. His investors had fled. His partners had turned their backs. His reputation, built on lies, was reduced to ash. Lawsuits had begun piling up. Authorities were investigating. Banks were pulling loans. His empire, once towering and untouchable, had fallen into ruin. But I wasn't done yet. They had stolen my life, my trust, my love, my everything. And now, it was time for the last blow. The one that would shatter any illusion of recovery. The one they could never crawl back from. I had been holding it back. Saving it. The video. Aiden intoxicated in a private club, confessing with laughter and arrogance how he manipulated contracts, bribed officials and used insider information to destroy competitors. And Maddie sitting right beside him smiling, nodding, adding her own twisted comments. I uploaded it anonymously to a whistleblower news site that specialized in corporate crime. Within hours, it spread like wildfire. Major outlets picked it up. Social media exploded. There was no damage control that could fix this. No PR firm that could spin it. This wasn't just scandal. It was evidence. Criminal. Public. Irreversible. By evening, arrest warrants had been issued. Their names trended for all the wrong reasons. The headlines read like poetry to me. Corporate giants fall as shocking video reveals years of corruption. Socialite turned criminal Madison Green's double life exposed. I stood by my apartment window watching the rain fall as the city buzzed with chaos, knowing it was because of me. Because I refused to be silent. Because I fought back. For the first time in a long time. I felt free. With them gone, truly undeniably gone, I stood alone again. But not broken. Not shattered like before. I was whole. And I was ready to live again. I took time to breathe. To walk in the sun, to laugh without pain clawing at the edges. I traveled. I stood on cliffs with the ocean screaming below, and let the wind carry my past away. I started rebuilding my dreams. I applied for that fellowship I had once given up for Aiden. I enrolled in a leadership course. I joined a community of women who had suffered and survived. I spoke at events, anonymously at first, then in my own name. My story wasn't just revenge, it was strength. Power. Healing. I wasn't the same Claire anymore. I had been the woman who gave everything. Then I became the woman who had everything stolen. Now. I was the woman who reclaimed it all. They destroyed me. But all they did was spark the fire that made me invincible. I will never forget what they did. But I will also never let it define me again.